Hi, I'm Brandon. Welcome to my channel, Books in the Shire. Sorry if this video is echoey or anything. I'm currently at my mom's house for the summer, so my videos this summer are gonna be like that, possibly. I don't know. The last time I filmed in this house was 2 years ago, and I was in my old bedroom, and it was like normal, but yeah, I don't know how filming is gonna turn out this summer. I'm going to try and be consistent. But I'm working a full-time job, so I have no idea. This is all very irrelevant, I'm sorry, but I'm in I'm in a new location for the time being. Oh, and because I'm in a new location, I don't have like any of my books with me. Most of them are back home. I only brought like 10 or something. So yeah. For this video though, I thought I would do some summer reads recommendations, books that I think are like good to read over the summer because like they have a summer setting or the vibes are just really summery to me. I will probably use those words a lot, setting and vibes, because I don't have any other words in my vocabulary to describe my feelings. So yeah, let's just talk about summer recs. My first book is Labyrinth Lost by Zoraida Cordova. This is a young adult fantasy. I would say like urban fantasy because it's set in like our modern day, but they are witches. And I'm pretty sure the first book is set during the summer. If not, it has summery vibes. It's been a few years since I read it, so I don't totally remember, but I remember really enjoying the like atmosphere of this book and how like the author described the world that these characters lived in, because they live in New York. It's like a family, and like just everything about the family, like their relationships with each other, their relationship to their neighbors, and how they interact with people, how they interact with their witchiness and like magic and all of that. Like I just remember really enjoying that. But I think this series is really good. It definitely reads a bit younger, so I would say more like real teens, like 15 to 17, maybe like even 14 or 13, because the writing is a bit more simplistic, but I still think it's really well written and really good. And I got the summer vibes from it. I really enjoyed it. I think the first book I read during the summer, so that's probably one of the reasons, but I think it just really fits like summertime heat, like doing whatever you want kind of because you're free, you don't have school and all of that. So that's my first rec. My next rec is All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace. This is a pirate-themed fantasy duology. Again, I think the first book takes place over the summer, but it's like a pirate novel. So, you know, they're on the ocean a lot, they're traveling a lot, and I feel like that's just very summery in general. So that's why I put it in this video. I really enjoyed those books. Like the second book, I don't know what it was about the second book, but I just loved it so freaking much. Like, it's not like it did anything revolutionary, but it felt really fresh and like a good satisfying ending to the series, which I liked. Our main character, she is a princess, and her lineage basically is the only lineage that practices a certain type of magic, and to be able to ascend to the throne she has to pass this like magic trial, kind of like she has to show her kingdom that she's capable of using her magic, and things go wrong, so it sets her off on this like journey throughout her kingdom. And it was just really interesting because, you know, it's like found family misfits coming together kind of, but I think it did a lot of the piratey elements well. I'm very picky about piratey elements, and I think a lot of people are too, and I don't think the author ever leaned too heavily into like the pirate stuff. Like, yes, it was present, but it was never like, look, we're pirates. It was like they're just living their lives kind of. I think it had a unique magic system, a really nice setting, very summery, hence this video, hence why it's here. But totally recommend it. It's so good. And I think it was really big when it first came out, which was a couple years ago, but like I haven't heard anyone talk about it since. And honestly, when it was big, I don't think anybody was actually talking about it. They were all just really hyped to read it, but then never read it. So it's like, I think it's kind of an underrated book. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it, so I think you should read it if you're into pirates and fantasy. Next, I have Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This book is set at a summer camp, but it's like a supernatural summer camp. I wouldn't say that the vibes are inherently summery. Even though it takes place at a summer camp, I think it can kind of lean towards not really fitting into a certain season, if that makes sense. But because it's set at a summer camp and they're doing summer camp-esque things, I think it kind of fits. I think especially at the beginning of the novel and towards the end of the novel, you really get more summer vibes because Amari, our main character, isn't part of the supernatural world during those times. So you really see like her relationship to her community and how summer affects that kind of. I think Amari and the Night Brothers does really good again with like character dynamics and character relationships. I think it's really cool to see Amari's closeness to her older brother despite him not being there. Like you can tell how much she cares for him and how much he cares for her. And I really like that element of the book. That really is what guides the whole story. And then Amari's relationship with her roommate I really love because I like that their relationship's not just perfect. Like they have ups and downs in the book, which I appreciate because that's so realistic. Nobody's relationship is perfect. So I really liked that the author wasn't afraid to show relationship dynamics and how they changed based off of different circumstances, different people that come into your life. My next recommendation is Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. Yes, I know, like the first 2 or 3 volumes happen not during the summer, but I get very summery vibes. Like even in the book when it's like raining, I'm like, this is summer. Like I don't know what it is. Volume 4 I think is the one where they go to Paris and like that's over the summer, I'm pretty sure. So that is very summery. But I feel like in general, Heartstopper just has summery vibes because of like all the good vibes going on with it. I really don't know how to explain it. I just get very summer energy from it despite them being in school and whatnot. I think the characters are just very warm and the storylines, despite being deep and emotional, are still very warm. And that's kind of why I associate it with summer. I think they're just like really good things to be able to like binge over the summer or like reread. I kind of want to reread them because A1, the show, perfect. Like I think it's really good. I like that it's not afraid to handle these tough topics. That like that's why what makes it so good and what makes it special is that, you know, you can see these characters experiencing rough times, but like they're able to like move through it, keep going, and like especially with the help of their friends. And again with like character relationships, I like that there is sometimes turmoil between the character relationships because again, nobody's relationship is perfect. It makes sense for them to have a few issues, but then they, you know, ultimately come back together and see like, oh, you know, like I might have done this wrong, you might have done that wrong. Let's like apologize, make up, and move on. I just really like that. It's just really wholesome and sweet and fabulous. I don't know. My next recommendation also takes place at a summer camp, and that is A Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. This is the 4th book in the Truly Devious series. You don't need to read the original trilogy to read this book. I think the only thing is you might not know the characters as well, but it's a whole new mystery. It's its own story. It's not connected to the other 3, so like you don't need to read the others, but it's set at a summer camp. It's like a mystery at a summer camp, and it was really good. I got all of those like summer camp vibes, those like, you know, late night, like at a fire pit and everything, all of that stuff. It was just really cozy. It was very like 80s slasher horror movie-esque where like you think what's the one with Jason as the villain? Is that Friday the 13th? I don't watch horror. I'm a baby, but I think it's Friday the 13th. It's very much like that, you know, where they're at a summer camp. There's all these things happening, but it goes beyond the summer camp. It actually includes the whole town, which I really like. Yeah, it's just summer vibes. It's literally set during the summer, so you can't get more summery than that, I don't think. Next, I have A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow by Laura Taylor Namey. This is a contemporary romance, and I'm not a contemporary reader. I'm slowly getting more into romance, but I have not read a lot of romance, probably like 5 tops. So this was really like outside of my comfort zone, but I adore this book. I can't put into words how much I love this book because it was something I never expected to enjoy so much, but I did because it's so outside of my comfort zone. I really only read fantasy, so this was just like a big surprise to me, but Our main character, I can't remember her name, but basically she's been going through a lot with like her family and everything. So her aunt lives in England. She lives in Miami, the main character, and her aunt lives in England, and so she goes to stay with her aunt over the summer. And she falls in love. And it's just so freaking cute. I like that these two characters, like the love interest and our main character, are from two different walks of life, you know, and like they have very different upbringings, very different, you know, views on the world, but like they bond over being nice people basically. I know that sounds stupid, but they both are like good people, and it's just like really cute. The friend group that she makes in England is so cute because you're like, oh my god, she's not gonna make friends because she's in this whole other country on her own practically, even though she has her aunt there, but like you think she's gonna be on her own, and she just builds like really good relationships with everybody. You see how connected she becomes to not only the people she's with, but with the town that she's been living in, with the community. And like I really love that, and I love that she finds herself, because our main character, I think she like just graduated high school, and that's when she goes to England, is over the summer after she graduated, something like that. So she's only like 18, but she like grows so much within the book, which I'm not saying can't be done, but you don't see that a lot in books, especially when they are 18. They pretty much stay the same, unless it's fantasy, which is different. But like in contemporaries, I feel like you don't see a lot of character growth, and sometimes you aren't supposed to see character growth. But I think in this one, that was the point, is you're supposed to see how she grows, how she's able to handle all the bad things that have happened, and move forward, and how she, you know, kind of has a more positive outlook on life. I just loved it. Yes, I did cry when I was reading it because it was just so sweet and wholesome. And like, if you like Heartstopper, I think you would like this book. This is not that video, but if you liked Heartstopper, you should read this. Or if you like A Cuban Girl's Guide to Teen Tomorrow, you should read Heartstopper. Okay. Next, I have a book that is very underrated. I have never seen anybody talk about this book, and I talk about this book a lot. Well, not on here, but I did on Bookstagram a lot, and that is Fate of Flames by Sarah Raleigh. This book, this whole series, it has a hold on me. Like, it was just so good and so different. Like, yes, it's like kind of a typical sci-fi fantasy dystopian book, but the characters are what made it so much better, and like the story made it so much better. And like, I do have a bit of issues with it here and there, but like overall, I think it was a very well constructed series, and nobody knows about it. Like, why not? It's so freaking fantastic. But Fate of Flames, I think, takes place over the summer, so that's why I'm putting it in this video. But also, I'm putting it here just so I have a chance to talk about it, because why haven't you read this book yet? It's just so freaking good, okay? Okay. And if you don't like it, please don't tell me. My camera overheated, so I genuinely don't know what the last thing I said was. I can't even say a sentence, make a sentence. I can't talk, great. But I think I was talking about Fate of Flames, and I'll just leave it on the note of go freaking read it, because it's fantastic, and nobody has read it, and it makes me upset, because I have no one to talk to about it. Next, I have The Storm Crow by Kaylin Josephson. I read this book a few years ago, so I don't totally remember everything that happens about it. But basically, it's a fantasy, and our main character, like, I think she's the second-born princess, and Enemy Kingdom, I think it was, like, destroyed a bunch of their kingdom, and like they had these crows that were magical that, you know, everyone basically had a crow in their kingdom, but this enemy kingdom like killed all of the crows and killed her mom, and so now her sister is taking the throne, but they want to try and rebuild this relationship with the other kingdom. So she gets, I think, engaged to the son of the enemy kingdom. But yeah, but crows, there's one last crow that she finds, and they become friends and stuff happens, you know. I can't really go beyond that. I don't really remember it. But yeah, it's set during the summer. They, I believe, are on like an island, and it's very like, I was gonna say island-esque, but like it's humid and stuff, and it's like this, it's always sunny, and then they get like monsoon type seasons and stuff, like, so that's why I kind of am associating it with summer. I don't know if it actually takes place during the summer, but because of the location of like the world, I guess, is very summer-like to me. But it was a fun fantasy. I think it had a lot of unique elements to it. Like, obviously, like, being betrothed to, like, an enemy kingdom, that's pretty, you know, typical of YA fantasy. But I really liked the crow element and the elemental type magic that they had. Because I think you see elemental magic, but I think it was interesting to see how it connects to the crows. And how how prominent the crows were in their culture and their society, and how much they were affected by the loss of all of the crows. I think that was just really interesting. The last book that I'm going to recommend is another one that I really don't hear a lot of people talk about. Again, when it first came out, I heard some people talking about it, but I don't think anybody read it. That is Nocturna by Maya Motain. This is a, I think, Spanish-inspired fantasy. It was something very unique. I think the world was really unique, the magic was really unique, and the characters, while they were very typical, they had good characterizations that made me not feel like, oh, this is just an average like YA love interest, you know, like there was more dimension to them. I think I rated it low when I first read it, but after I think more about it, I'm like, that was actually really good. Why did I not enjoy that? And I bought the second book because I want to read it, but that's not important right now. But it's just really interesting. Oh my god, I really don't know how to describe this book because it was really different for me. And I don't know if it's just I haven't read things like this before, or if in general it really is just different feeling, but it just felt very, I don't want to use the word unique, but like it felt like its own thing. Like I could read fantasies that were similar, but like this had its own category basically. And I loved the different, you know, elements to the story. I loved the world, the characters, the magic, like everything just hit right. It was just, it worked really well together. And I think the author spent a lot of time thinking about this world and these characters and how they all fit together. It just felt really fleshed out and good. There are a lot of comparisons that it's similar to A Darker Shade of Magic, and I do agree with those comparisons, but only in some plots. I think everything else is its own. The world is entirely different. The characters are entirely different. Yes, you have a prince, just like they do in A Darker Shade of Magic. And yes, you have kind of a runaway girl, same as A Darker Shade of Magic. But that's the only similarities these characters have. Beyond that, they are very different. They have their own personalities, their own, you know, abilities and thoughts and processes. They aren't the same. Some of the plot is similar, but it's very small. I think everything else is very different. I think they are two separate books that can have some similarities to each other. If you like A Darker Shade of Magic, I would totally suggest reading this. If you didn't like A Darker Shade of Magic, I still recommend you read this because, like I said, these similarities are not that close. I think it's just like trope similarities, but that's in every single book. Every single book is gonna have a similar trope to another book. But beyond that, they're two unique stories. This has like nothing to do with the book, but my sister, she also reads a lot. She doesn't read YA. She's one of those snobs. No, I'm just kidding. But she's just not a YA reader, but she wants to read this book because she thinks it sounds so interesting. So if you're not a YA reader, I still recommend you read it because I don't think a lot of it reads YA. I think it reads, I guess, new adult, you could say. I think the characters are probably like 20 years old, and so it reads for about a 20-year-old instead of like a 16-year-old. My two big takeaways of this are to read Nocturna and to read Fate of Flames because I hear no one talking about those, and I would like to talk to people about them because I really love them. So read those. Obviously, everything in this video I am recommending that you read, even if I disliked it. I think other people might like it, but those are my top two. Oh, and All the Stars and Teeth. Those are my top three. So if you had to take anything away, read those three, please, because I love them so freaking much. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe, and comment down below if you've read any of these books or if they're on your TBRs. Like, if you've read them especially, let me know. I want to know people's thoughts and feelings because I feel like I don't know what other people know or like. That didn't make sense. I'll just leave. I'm sorry. Bye. Have a good day.